About 8 years ago, I found out that I needed to have invasive surgery to remove fibroids from my uterus. I was told that if I did not have this surgery, I would not be able to have a successful pregnancy. And so when I went to my generalist OB, he described the procedure, which was going to be essentially a C-section with no baby. So I was going to have to be hospitalized for several days. They were going to do an invasive surgery. I was going to have to recover for 8 weeks. And during the process, as his clinic nurse put it, they were going to scoop me out like a melon. None of this seemed attractive to me. I was like, I don't like any part of this. But I also recognized that my OB was not a specialist. And it was 2018, and I thought to myself, there is no way that there is not a better surgical option that doesn't sound as bad as this. So then I started scouring the internet, and I was looking for something specific. I wanted a clinic that specialized in fibroid removal, that was cutting edge, where that was really what they were working on, where the doctors were specifically trained in the newest fibroid removal strategies, where it was going to be laparoscopic and where there was going to be very little downtime. And I found this clinic. And I even had a doctor that had a Grey's Anatomy style name. It was something like Dr. McSmart or something like that. And I thought, excellent, this is where I'm going to go. And it was as good as I thought it was. I got there, it was an outpatient procedure. I spent 2 days in a hotel. I flew home. I was pretty much back to normal within a week. And 3 months later, I got pregnant with my daughter who just turned 7 years old. It was so important to me to find the right specialist. And luckily, because they recognized that and marketed it, I was able to find that clinic and get the care that I actually needed from someone who knew how to provide the exact treatment that I wanted. Why am I telling you this very personal story? I'm telling you because it is directly related to psychologists and how we market ourselves and how we see ourselves and the services that we provide to clients. I work with a lot of psychologists who have really important niches, but somehow do not identify the level of specialization they have and the market need for them. So let me explain a little bit more. Often, when we have a problem that is really bothering us, like for example, desperately wanting a child and needing a solution, we want to go for the person who is the most specialized in that area that we can find. Psychologists often have that kind of specialization, but when we think about ourselves or we market ourselves, we don't really reveal that level of specificity to ourselves or in our marketing. So let me give you an example through my own clinic, PCIT Experts. So I own a practice called Thriving Child Center, generalist child psychology practice. Within that practice, I have a specialty clinic where all we do is parent-child interaction therapy, which is this extremely effective evidence-based treatment for 2 to 8-year-olds with challenging behaviors. So already, everyone in that clinic is pretty niched down. We're seeing a certain age range with certain problems, doing a certain treatment. But even within that clinic, all of my therapists are specialty niched, really micro niched. For example, we just brought on a psychologist named Paulo Graziano from University of Miami. And he is the one who is the PI and did all of the original research looking at intensives for PCIT. So instead of somebody coming every single week, they can come more than once a week, maybe even every day, and see the same progress. So if you are struggling with a child where you need things to get better really, really fast, and you have the bandwidth and the desire to do an intensive, wouldn't you want to see this guy? right? The person who did the research, like talk about the ivory tower coming to you, but better, because the ivory tower is graduate students doing the treatment. And in this case, you have the expert, you have the specialist. That is his micro niche. And it is really easy to identify who should go on his caseload. Can you see other people for regular PCIT? Absolutely. But as a consumer, if I had that challenge, I would want him. Another good example in my clinic is Becca Wallace. Becca is an amazing PCIT therapist. Becca is also a foster and adoptive parent. And she's been doing that for over 10 years. So she has seen all of these nuances of the foster care system, adoptive families, what it's like. She's done PCIT with kids who have been through this system many times. She's got the lived experience. So if you had adopted a child and wanted PCIT, wouldn't you want Becca to deliver it? She has a micro specialty within our specialty clinic. She is a unicorn there. It is really, really easy to get the right clients on her schedule. And if we market it correctly, then people can find them. And that's just two examples of many of the different therapists who are in my clinic. Because one of my skills is that I happen to be really good at talking someone through their specialty and finding that way of identifying how they provide something that people really need that not everybody does. It gives you this ability to stand out. I think as clinicians, especially as psychologists, we often have something that really makes us stand out, and we have a hard time identifying it. And even when we do identify it, we are too afraid to tell people about it. Another example is that I was recently talking to a health psychologist who was moving to Houston, and we were talking about the different kinds of services that she provided. And I was like, well, what's an area of treatment that you really focus on? And she's like, pain management. And I'm like, that's really important. But there are a lot of people who are health psychologists who do some version of pain management. What is your specialty within that? Fibromyalgia. Do you know how desperate fibromyalgia sufferers are for effective treatment for their pain? Like, that is an extremely challenging illness where people are often dismissed and feel misunderstood. If I had fibromyalgia, I would want to find the psychologist who could specialize and help me with my pain. But I would need that person to, first of all, identify that they are really good at that, and then market it so that I could actually find them on the internet, or at least tell enough other colleagues so that someone could put me in their direction. When we do these really special, specific things and we let people know about them, we are doing people a huge favor because we're helping them find the right treatment, the right care for them. And that's what people are really looking for, especially if they're suffering. They're willing to look for that specialist. They're willing to pay more for that specialist. As a referral source, if you often are seeing people with that problem, you want a specialist to refer them to. You want someone who stands out and is obvious. For example, this is not a psychologist, but in the Houston community, there is a company called Houston School Options, and all they do is help families find the right school in Houston for their child. As a child psychologist, I often meet with families that need to find a new school. They do something so specific that it is so easy for me to identify that they are the right people to go to. Right? They're not trying to do everything, help everyone find everything. It's not like help people find the right provider. It's like help these families find the right school around here. And that makes the referral process so easy I can identify who needs to go there. And it also means that my clients are thrilled because that's exactly what they wanted to find. But sometimes it takes a little bit to get there. It takes a moment to try to figure out, what is it about me that makes me truly unique? What is it about me and my training plus life experience plus background that would really resonate with the right person? Not because I'm trying to market myself in a special way, but because this is truly the thing that I do well. I've seen this come up also with other psychologists who maybe speak a different language. Like maybe they speak Vietnamese and they do couples therapy. And it's like, wow, you have this PhD training background. Maybe you are also certified in EFT, which is an extremely effective version of couples therapy, and you speak Vietnamese. That is the distinguishing factor, right? You're already a specialist, but now you know where you should be looking for your clients. And when Vietnamese speaking clients find you, they're going to be so happy because they're getting all the high quality of care and it's being delivered to them in a culturally competent and sensitive way from someone who understands in their language. So I encourage you to really think into your training, really go through the things that you do very well, where you have true expertise, and say, who can I serve or what can I provide that is missing right now, where someone would be so happy to find me? Sometimes you can figure out what this is if you mention it offhand and someone's like, oh, you do that? I've been looking for someone who does that. That is a key that you have now stumbled upon, this specialty that you need to tell everyone about, that you want to stand out for, that you want to be known as the unicorn provider for. And if you have a hard time figuring out what that is, you should contact me because I'm really good at helping people figure out what that is. And then figuring out a strategy for how are you going to really build your business around that. Because helping people find the exact right person to help them is an art, and it is something that we all desperately want, especially right now in the world where our consumers are coming in knowing what they're looking for. People are coming in looking for very specific things. If you're a psychologist, you can usually have PsyPaps, so now you can provide your services in 43 states at the moment. So there's so many different places where you can be found. So it's just about identifying that and then letting everybody know. Now, the letting everyone know part is hard for us a lot of the time. It feels braggy. But imagine if that fibroid specialist had not advertised that that was what they did. I would not have gotten the treatment I needed. Who knows if my daughter would exist today? Maybe I never would have been able to become a mom, right? We are helping people when we help them find us, when we are truly going to be of service to them. And it is exciting to be able to give people the perfect fit of what they want. So I want you to really think about this. Really look at yourself objectively, or get some help looking at yourself through me or through somebody else, and then figure out how you are going to let everyone know what that is about you that makes you stand out. I can promise you that if you can really do that and you can really hone in and make your business about that, you're going to see a lot of success. That's what I do all day within my clinic. All right, I'm excited for you. Thank you for listening to my personal story. I hope that was useful, and I look forward to seeing you again next time in the Worth It Practice podcast.